Hello and welcome to Blank Plate, a podcast for Swifties with an appetite.
I'm Sara, and I used to be a little kid with glasses and a twin-size bed.
I'm Laura, and I'm a mess, but I'm the mess that you wanted.
And we've got a blank plate, baby, and we'll write your name.
Did that work?
I think so.
Behind the scenes, y'all don't know the amount of technology issues Sara and I have. Just at the start, normally, and it all smooths out in the editing process, but holy moly.
Yeah,
okay,
I think that was okay. We're gonna roll with that one. All right, so we've got a big episode today. We're going to talk about Guilty as Sin, which means there's a lot to unpack. And then we've got Taylor updates. We've got just like personal stuff. So let's jump right into it.
Yeah. So what's on our plates first? On my plate is prepping for school. I feel very lucky that like I do get the chance to relive like that end of summer, early fall excitement every year, like going to Target and picking out new pens and, you know, like school supplies and figuring out my first day of school outfit. And like, that's nostalgic and like cool.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work to get ready for the school year. Like, just everyone say a prayer for your teacher friends because the next couple weeks are just like absolute chaos. We come home and just crash on the couch and go to bed at like 7 p.m. So say a prayer for us. But that's what's on my plate is prepping for school. How about you?
Yeah. So I am in my Megan Maroney era. And I know you're not really like a country person. And honestly, like, I used to say that I hated country. It's so funny because like I would never just like put on the country channel and just hit shuffle or something. Like I would never.
Yeah, there's shades of country. Yeah. Like there's
like the new Sabrina Carpenter album seems to maybe have a little bit of a country twinge to it, which I'm very excited about.
She's giving Dolly Parton kind of in that song that she did with Jack. I really like that.
So yeah, I'm like this weird dichotomy where I'm like, I don't like country music, but also like 3 of my favorite artists of all time are country music people, you know, like, and that's where I need the right person to get me in and I have to kind of lock in on that person. And also it's never a man. Like any country song with a man. No. I mean, I am kind of excited for this Post Malone country album because it's just kind of like fun. But if it weren't for Post Malone, I would not be listening. Okay. So
she said it.
Yeah. So anyway, Megan Maroney, she's been on this scene for a couple years, but she's fairly new. And she's been on my radar, but she just had a new album come out called Am I Okay? And so for reference, I love Casey Musgraves and Maren Morris. And then in like a tier slightly below them, I would put Kelsea Ballerini. So if you're a fan of those people, I think you should check out Megan Maroney. She also has a song on the new Twisters movie soundtrack. But she kind of reminds me of those people, like a mishmash of them. Also a little bit like Shania Twain-esque. But she has this really great, like, raspy voice, which I could also understand if her voice is not for everyone because it's pretty distinct. And so after Tortured Poets came out, I did actually come across a TikTok of hers where she's covering The Black Dog. And we're going to link to the video of it on YouTube, but also I wanted to play a little clip of it so you guys can get a taste for her. So this is her singing The Black Dog.
But she's too young to know this song that was intertwined, magic fabric of our dreaming. Oh,
Yeah, she's got such a very soulful rasp to her voice.
Yeah.
I have to confess that whenever someone talks about her, I think of, I don't know why my brain does this. I think of the character from 30 Rock. Okay?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
the
What's her
character on
name?
30 Rock's her name is Jenna Maroney, okay?
Oh, yeah.
But I'm 99% sure that the actress's name is Megan or something, but my brain always, I don't know why my brain thinks of her that, and they could not be more different. But anyway.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm enjoying her new album a lot. I also like her first album a lot. The new album has a song on it. It's my favorite song on the album, the last one. And I'm calling it the slow country version of I Can Do It With a Broken Heart, because it's called Hell of a Show. It's a really short little, like 1.5 minute song about basically like going on stage and performing with a broken heart. But it's also just like beautiful. It's basically just like her and guitar, and kind of like that clip I just played. So I love that. And also I listened to her interview on the Call Her Daddy podcast, which I don't normally listen to that podcast, but every now and then they have someone on that I want to hear the interview. And I didn't realize like how young she is. And she only started writing her own songs during COVID in 2020 when she was in college. So she had kind of an interesting rise to fame. But yeah, and she's a Swiftie. So I hope that she's not like problematic at all, because apparently she had a fling with Morgan Wallen. So, you know, that makes me a little concerned. So hopefully she's not, someone I need to avoid.
Bad boy. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. See, not a country person, but like there's shades of country that I like. I love Casey Musgraves. So she's country enough that like, yes, she's labeled country, but she's also not that like country twang, like round the Bay America type of sound that I just can't stand.
Right.
So it's folky, poppy country.
Yeah, a little bluesy, which I really like. Like that's what reminds me of Maren Morris, because Maren will lean a little bit bluesy a lot of the time.
Yeah,
which I love.
I like that.
But anyway, so I wanted to share that because I figured someone listening would probably enjoy that. So
yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh, so much Taylor news and updates to talk about. Before we talk about the sad stuff, I do want to add that our last episode was about Taylor's tour writer, and we missed some items from her 2024 writer, because the article that I had cited before, which I'll link, only gave a sample, and I didn't see underneath it that it said, and that's just the start with like more information. So here's what we missed. So apparently what we included in our roundup last episode was only for Thursdays, which I'm assuming is like the dress rehearsal days. And then what we missed is that she requests a frozen bag of edamame, a bag of shredded lettuce, 1 tomato, 1 avocado, 1 orange, and 1 case of Smart Water specifically. Okay. So I don't know if we're doing like doctored up nachos because she included like the Tostitos chips and the salsa, or like, I don't, and the frozen edamame is throwing me for a loop too. I don't know what that's about. Protein.
Yeah, maybe that's just a snack.
Yeah. And then on Fridays, of course, she still requires her Starbucks order that we talked about and a case of Smart Water, but she also has a veggie tray, a small jar of dill pickles, a small jar of olives, a 1/4 pound of cooked ham lunch meat, a 1/4 pound of chicken breast lunch meat, a 1/4 pound of sliced white cheddar cheese, and of course her microwave popcorn and a 6-pack of Diet Pepsi.
Is she like hosting a luncheon on Fridays? Like, what is going on here?
I mean, it's giving just like random snacks. And the lunch meat with the sliced cheese.
Yeah.
There's no mention of bread. So
maybe she's doing little. You ever do like a ham and cheese roll up?
yeah.
Yeah, with like some mustard. I don't
And
see mustard on here.
Maybe a pickle.
Yeah. Maybe you wrap it around the pickle.
I can only see Taylor doing this for herself. She's like, it's a lunch meat burrito.
Yeah.
So that's just a little more additional information about the tour writer. And I will include the sources in our show notes.
Okay.
So there you go. On a sadder end of things, and a scary end of things, we have to talk about how a very real terrorist threat that happened in Vienna. Taylor is notorious. She will never cancel unless absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
She'll play in the rain. She'll play late. And I think a lot of people appreciate that about her drive and her commitment to her fans. With the details that have been coming out. And as of right now, guys, we're recording this before she's even made a statement. Taylor Nation has said it,
that the first show should have been happening this afternoon.
Right. So we don't have too much to go off of except the arrests and, different information that's coming out of Vienna. But obviously this is a very real threat. And I understand the disappointment of so many Swifties who have spent thousands of dollars to go, were very disappointed about the news. But ultimately, I think we know that this was absolutely the right call.
Well, and also Taylor did not cancel it. The music venue canceled it. Although I'm sure she agrees with that decision because, of course, you don't want to take any risks and then have something happen. And she cares the most about keeping her fans safe. So, so it's really scary. It's really sad. It's just a shame that this is the reality that we live in, that we have to worry about these things. Also, did you know that the other day, actually, like Morgan Wallen had a concert at Arrowhead Stadium, and Travis and Patrick Mahomes walked out with him. But that concert was delayed by like 45 minutes because of a terrorist threat. And it came out that the target was Travis and Patrick. So, like, people are going after Taylor and her people, which, of course, she's constantly worried about.
I mean, there's so much that we don't know about her security that I'm sure every single show there is a level of alertness that we just can't even comprehend to ensure that she's safe and her friends and family are safe. But holy moly, it just makes me so sad because, we went to the shows in Philly and I remember thinking before getting there how scary it is to be in such a massive space like that in our world, in America, where mass shootings are happening left and right. Yeah. And when you're there, it felt like Barbie world. Like it felt like the safest environment ever. And I wasn't worried while I was there, but you realize that a mass gathering of this nature, unfortunately, my brain was already thinking like, I'm surprised that didn't happen yet. Yeah. Which is so crazy and messed up. Like that's not okay. So
yeah. And this also makes me think more about, people are constantly asking Taylor to speak out about political things. And I forget where I heard someone say this or talk about this, but it made a lot of sense to me, is that Taylor needs to be really careful about anything she says, especially now while she's on tour, because if she does come out and say things, it makes her even more of a target than she already is, which then puts all of her fans in danger because she's currently on tour.
Right.
And I just haven't been able to stop thinking about that ever since it came into my mind from wherever I heard it, because it makes a lot of sense. And then you hear about something like this. It's like, imagine if she was walking around constantly talking about politics in the world that we live in. Right. Like that's something she has to factor in when she's deciding whether or not to speak out. And it's terrible that she has to think about that.
Yep.
So
it is.
But the good news is that Vienna is having a great time anyway, in spite of all this.
Yeah.
Actually, my brother has a friend who's there right now for the show. And actually, like a while ago, he had texted me because one of his friends had tickets to a Vienna show that she was trying to get rid of. And she was going to offer them to me. And I was like, well, I can't afford to go to Vienna in August this year. Like, it's not in the books for this year.
Yeah.
And I remember that today. I was like, wait, I think that was the Vienna show. And it was. So like, and this is the thing, this is why Taylor tries not to cancel, because how many people flew to Vienna from various countries to see the show, and now it's just canceled because of this horrible reason. But yeah, people are gathering in the streets. They're trading friendship bracelets. They're singing her songs. They're also writing things on the sidewalk.
Yeah. Vienna's tourism board is also giving Swifties a bunch of different deals too, with proof of their purchase of their ticket. Thrifty Swiftie just posted a video about it. I'll link it. But it sounds like Vienna is trying to treat the Swifties with some nice treats since they made it all the way out. I mean, take this as an opportunity to lean into the tourism side, right? Like, it's very unfortunate, but I mean, now there's a bunch of people in Vienna that all have a mutual shared interest. And I mean, we'll see what'll happen. A lot of people are talking about how Taylor could cancel her London shows. I don't know if that's a reality, if that's something even on her radar. I hope not. But obviously the safety of the fans and her come first. So, that's the news.
There it is.
Speaking of, you were talking about the political thing. I had written that, before this incident had occurred, is Taylor going to endorse Kamala? One of her surprise songs that she has not done yet is Only the Young from Lover. And it would be awesome to see her use that as a political stance to endorse our Democratic candidate. But now I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't know. Yeah, I think if she wasn't on tour, it could be a different story.
Yeah, I agree.
But the tour is going to be continuing past the election. And she'll be in the States for a couple weeks before the election, and then she'll be in Canada. So yeah, I just don't know. But also, speaking of Kamala, her VP pick, Tim Walz, who we love, our Midwestern princess dad. He is a Swiftie and a Beyonce fan. So he tried to get Eras Tour tickets, like back when you and I were buying ours. And so he's the governor of Minnesota, right? Yeah. I always I always confuse Minnesota and Michigan, like when I'm trying to figure out which one I'm talking about. But he declared the 2 days she played in Minneapolis as Taylor Swift days. And then also when Beyonce performed there, he declared it Bay Day. So
love him.
We have to stand.
We have to stand this man.
Yeah.
He really has united us in a way that makes my heart happy.
I know.
So.
Yeah. I love it.
I love it too. All right. Other news. Taylor also released the first draft phone memo of My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys,
which I did not buy.
That was the first. Yeah.
I was like, nah, I'll hear it on TikTok or something.
TikTok will definitely treat us to it. Yeah. So,
I mean, the voice memos, I'm not listening to them, it's good to hear them once, but I don't need them in my library.
It gives us some context clues. Yeah. So she said in the voice recording that being somebody's favorite toy until they break you. Actually, she said this in another interview, break you, and then they don't want to play with you anymore, which is how a lot of us are in relationships. So where we are valued by a person in the beginning, and then all of a sudden they break us or they devalue us in their mind, we're clinging on to the, no, you should have seen them the first time they saw me. they'll come back to that. They'll get back to that. So it's kind of a song about denial, really.
Mm-hmm.
So that you can live in the world where there's still hope for a toxic, broken relationship.
It's a song about being Delulu.
Yeah, it's about living in denial. Yeah. So the timing of this is kind of crazy. She released this basically to block Kanye's new song from charting, which I love the messiness of this, because in his song on Vultures 2, the lyric mentions her and Travis. The lyric was, "I twist my Taylor spliffs tight at the end like Travis Kelce." And basically she was like, I'm not going to let that fly. And she released this.
Kanye is so obsessed with her.
They're obsessed with each other. Like, it is a mutual Roman Empire. This is a mutual Roman Empire that will not be finished anytime soon.
Yeah.
Wow. And I think another thing is that it was also released on Karlie Kloss's birthday. So I don't know if it's about Karlie Kloss per se, but it is an interesting timing.
I do think she was trying to block Kanye because she also released all the variants on sale.
She was like,
13% off. She was like, yeah, come and get them. Anyone who is on the fence about buying these vinyls, now's your chance. And people did it. So
it's so clear that it was intentional in the timing. Also, we got some devastating lyric changes. For example, I think the one that people are talking about the most is, "He was my best friend, and that was the worst part."
Yeah.
Which is like, just kill me.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And then,
I get it.
The voices in his head ring out louder than our midnight sighs.
Which is a Midnight's reference.
Midnight's reference, also like a sexy reference.
Yep.
Like,
Yep. Like, that's not fixing his inner dialogue, is it, girlfriend?
No.
Yikes. So, yeah, I mean, sometimes when we hear the early drafts of these songs, like, there's just like little lyric changes that are like, ooh, like...
Yeah. Well, the other thing about this was at the beginning of the track, she says, says it sounds sad because it's on piano, and I'm sad in general. And it does sound really sad the way she's singing it. It sounds really sad. And like, she's almost like on the verge of tears. And this also made me think about the fact that like people were kind of slamming her for sticking with Jack and Aaron for this album. But a lot of people were saying like, this is a really like messy personal album, that it makes sense that she felt safe and comfortable to explore these songs with these guys she's so comfortable with. But I was thinking like, imagine sending that voice memo to some like new producer you're working with. Like,
No. Also, she said it needs like a driving synthy line behind it or something. It needs a driving synth beat. Yeah. She says that. She's clearly directing the production of that with Jack, which a lot of people were saying like, she needs to stop working with Jack. He just recreates the same sound. Well, maybe they both want that sound. She's not forcing him to do anything. Like, it's a collaboration. Also, that cracked me up.
I keep seeing stuff on Twitter and whatnot about people being like, someone needs to tell Jack Antonoff about drums. Like, he doesn't know how to add drums to a song. I'm like, dude, that's one of his most like iconic qualities in a Taylor song.
Yeah.
Is drums.
I mean, listen, people are only saying this because of the amount of music that she and him have produced in the last like 3 years alone. If we were only being like treated to like, here's a gift once every 4 years of the two of them, we would be eating that up, man. But the fact that we have so many of these vault tracks, we have like 2 new albums where they've collaborated. I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's just getting a little tired. Well, yeah, because we've gotten like 80 songs from her in the last like 4 years.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Also, the only reason we expect her to change is because she has done it so much in the past.
Exactly.
Whereas, like,
yeah.
we never ask, like, any other artist to completely switch up, like, their sound or the genre that they're doing.
Totally.
Like, hello, Drake. Every Drake song sounds exactly the same.
The Weeknd.
They're all the same.
Yeah. Too much.
It's so stupid.
So anyone who's like saying, like, oh, we need to stop working with Jack. It's like, first of all, what you said is right. The vulnerability aspect where she can just like lay it all out there and he knows all the tea.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, man, what I wouldn't give to know what Jack Antonoff knows.
Seriously, I want to go into that brain vault.
Yeah. I would love to be a fly on the wall during their collaborations. That's for sure. But yeah, he knows all the details of what's going on in her inner world and her like outer world. He also has worked with her for years. Like,
yeah. She calls him like he's like a cousin or like a brother to her.
Of course. You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
The meat of this episode, which is guilty as sin? Question mark. We're gonna analyze. Which obviously is from Tortured Poets. It's track 9. Released April 19th of this year. Co-written and produced with Jack Antonoff.
Which, like,
so there you have it.
You wouldn't necessarily guess from the sound of this.
This could have been either Aaron or Jack.
Mm-hmm.
No strong feelings.
I almost would have guessed like a Jack-Aaron collab on this one. You know?
This has influences of both, I think, but it is apparently just a Jack song with Taylor. So there you go.
Yeah.
So our personal associations with this song. Well, first of all, have you ever had a boy send you a song?
I don't know.
Okay, maybe this is just like a toxic guy trait, but and also like my type in high school and college was always musicians, like always. So obviously like a love language between musicians is like sending each other songs or like check out this band. But like the toxicity of a guy sending you a song that sends you into a tailspin is like a rite of passage. Like it is just like something where, you know, to him it was just like, oh, I'm sending you this song, whatever. It's a way for me to like say how I feel without saying how I feel.
Yeah.
And of course, as me being who I am, I'm going to read into every lyric and be like, I knew it. Delusional.
Right.
Absolutely delusional. So like, if you look up the lyrics to the first verse, which we're going to talk about, like, of course she was spinning. Like, every girl would be spinning if this like situationship who's back in your life is just sending you songs to listen to. Like, come on. Yeah. So anyway, that's my personal association. I was like, I've been there.
Yeah. Well, for me, like we kind of talked about this, how this song kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit after our first listen, where we both were like, I don't know, is this song a skip? Like, I'm not sure. But very quickly, I was like, oh, this song is top tier.
Top tier.
But I got way more into it in that like first week after the release. After seeing this TikTok about it by the TikToker's name is Avery Bouch, I think. That's how you we'll link to this TikTok clip. But she sings it mashed up with the song called About You by the 1975. Okay.
Yeah.
And so obviously this song is allegedly about Matty Healy. But a lot of people have pointed out that it kind of sounds like the 1975 song, but specifically the song About You, which is rumored to be about Taylor, right?
Yeah, and was included in her pre-show music.
Okay.
So and was removed after they had split. So
okay. Yeah, so with that in mind, I have a little clip of this TikTok where this woman is singing about you, like over Guilty as Sin.
Yeah.
And also she has a great voice, but I was just like obsessed with this in that like week after it.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a clip of that.
Or mad or wise, but if there's something about you, then now I can't remember. It's the same damn thing that made my heart surrender. And I miss you on a train, I miss you in the morning. I never know what to think about. I think about things we never did.
It's so good.
It is so good. Like, it makes me want that to be part of this song.
It's genius.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like that TikTok specifically was kind of like my gateway into loving this song and really like, falling in love with the melody specifically.
Yeah. This is a very like confessional song too. It's sort of a break from like, I don't know. Sometimes I think this album can get stuck in like, I'm obsessed with a boy, but then like this just felt like kind of a refreshing sound. And it did get lost in the mix up originally. Like I remember thinking like Fresh Out the Slammer, Guilty as Sin. I can't tell the difference. They're so different. This song is in a, like it, to me, it's in a completely different league and just shows that like she can do anything.
I also think like this song is so classic. Like there was nothing that like monumental or crazy about this song for it to like stick out the first time we listen to it. But it's like once it gets in your head, the song gets stuck there and you just want to hear it over and over again.
Yeah,
and,
I feel like this song has a quality to it for what I call a CVS song. A CVS song is a song that has like sort of that soft rock like hook melody that'll just stay in your head. So when you go to CVS, it's like always playing in the background. Somehow it's like always that one song and it'll stay in your head after you've left the CVS and you're like, oh, that stupid CVS song. Yeah. This has a little bit of that quality to it. Because it stays in your head. It's very good. So let's get into like the lore of the song before we actually like go verse by verse and line by line. The lyric Guilty as Sin was mentioned before this song in the song Carolina, which I thought was interesting. Because like Guilty as Sin as a term sounds very Southern to me. Oh, she's just guilty as sin. Like, just it just feels like something like a judgy Southern woman would say. You know, and obviously the overall tone of this song is Taylor is bored in her relationship, pining and fantasizing about another man, and really just questioning if she should feel bad about that because nothing physically ever happened, but yet you're fantasizing and having these like questionable thoughts about someone you're not in a relationship with, which is why the question mark is in the title, I'm assuming.
Yeah, definitely.
And we can assume that this is about Matty, like you said. But what I was going down a rabbit hole on was the timing of this and how we kind of know it's about Matty. So follow me into the rabbit hole on the timing of this, okay? So I think that this pining over a man that's not Joe happened during Midnights because Matty had said on a radio interview with KROQ's Klein and Alley show, quote unquote, we actually worked a bit on that, but then the version of it never came out. And it was for reasons that are not to be criticized. She's amazing. Saying that the 1975 and Taylor were collaborating on Midnights. Yeah. Okay. So that is, she's been saying that she started writing Midnights during late 2021 to early 2022, right? So if that's the timing of when Midnights was being recorded, we can assume that they had reconnected in some capacity to write music together, you know, whatever, collaborate.
Plus, they were working on the 1989 song that never came out either.
Right. We can assume that's sort of around the same time, too. So we also know from Jack Antonoff that Taylor wrote You're Losing Me on December 5th, 2021, signaling that Joe and Taylor were having relationship issues around the same time that Midnights was also being recorded.
Yeah.
So we can assume that Taylor was in a messy / not great side of her relationship. Maybe perhaps not broken up, because she's writing You're Losing Me.
Right.
While also collaborating with the former fling and situationship, Matty Healy. And we can assume that they were connecting over music in some capacity, meaning he probably was sending her music. And as we're going to talk about with verse 1, we know that Matty Healy's favorite band of all time was the the Blue Nile. So knowing that Matty's favorite band is the Blue Nile, he definitely sent her the Downtown Lights to listen to if they're collaborating on music together.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So there's the timing.
Yeah. And it makes so much sense, because in this song she's talking about she's currently in a relationship, but she's pining for someone else. And with the way everything played out, it makes sense that, like during her work on Midnights, she was thinking about leaving Joe, and Matty was right there as like a distraction to, get her interested.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So we definitely know this is about Matty. There you go. So let's go verse by verse. Here's the first half of verse 1.
Okay.
Drowning in the blue Nile, he sent me downtown lights. I hadn't heard it in a while, my boredom's bone deep. This cage was once just fine. Am I allowed to cry?
Okay.
Let's break it down.
Let's break it down.
So we already mentioned the song Downtown Lights by Blue Nile. So we just heard her say that. The Blue Nile is a Scottish band, and the Downtown Lights was a single off of their 1989 album. Wait, 1989?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the lyrics of this are...
It's so... like if someone you had feelings for before sent you these lyrics, it's literally going to send you spinning.
Yeah.
Like...
Oh, man.
Here, let me just read some. Read some.
Okay.
Sometimes I walk away when all I really want to do is love and hold you right. There is just one thing I can say. Nobody loves you this way. It's all right. Can't you see the downtown lights? In love, we're all the same. We're walking down an empty street, and with nobody call your name, empty streets, empty nights, the downtown lights. How do I know you'll feel it? How do I know you'll feel it? How do I know you feel it? How do you know it's true? Yeah, it's all right. So, like, it's talking about wanting to be with her. Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, my God.
Taylor, no.
Yeah.
Me in 11th grade.
Right. So, yeah, the inclusion of this lyric led to an increase of 1,400% in streams of the Downtown Lights within 4 days of the release of Tortured Poets.
That's crazy. Everyone was like, what's the deal?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I had noted that, like, if you listen to the beginning of this song, it has sort of a similar synthy beat at the start of the song, which honestly, that style of beat makes me think of the 1975. Like it has like sort of this similar sound as the beginning of this song, because the whole song starts with that sort of which is very 1980s sound, but the 1975 sort of has a similar sound to that too.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very pointed. Like she obviously wanted to start with that vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and so the Chats and Reacts girls on YouTube, they did a whole video breaking down this song, which I did not watch the whole thing, but I started it one day. And they talked about something I had not considered before, which is that this whole like downtown lights thing, I hadn't heard it in a while, could be a double meaning referring to being aroused. Like, he sent me downtown lights, like lights downtown, you know, getting fired up.
Oh.
And I hadn't heard it in a while. Like, I haven't felt like this in a while. And then she goes on to say, my boredom's bone deep. Like, I am bored in this relationship, and this man is getting me turned on in a way that I haven't felt.
That's clear.
And it's a horny song. Like, people are talking about this being an ovulation song. So I was like, oh,
totally.
My God. That could absolutely
double meaning.
Be a little bit of a double meaning there. Or a happy accident.
Oh, totally.
But yeah.
I never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Right?
Well, we know that's the tone of this song, so it's not out of the realm of possibility for sure.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, like the metaphorical, like being in a cage that was once fine, like that makes me think of Joe, because Joe very clearly wanted a very private relationship. It was once okay for her to want that reputation.
Yeah.
But now she's like, I'm so bored. Like, I'm so unhappy and I'm so bored. But of course, like the mention of cage makes me think of all the cages she's used in other material. So the most iconic is her swinging in a bird cage in the Look What You Made Me Do music video, where we all can assume she's wearing orange and swinging in the bird cage, which we're assuming is karma represented because it was locked up in a cage after the whole situation happened with Kanye and Kim. So
didn't she also have a cage in like the Willow Cardigan music videos?
Yep.
Yeah.
And there was a literal cage in the background of her like video where she was prepping for the NYU graduation. Do you remember that? There were like books and stuff inside of it, which was so weird. I was like, is that a decor choice?
Super random. Yeah. Also, I feel like this lyric, my boredom's bone deep, this cage was once just fine. Am I allowed to cry? I feel like that wraps up what we know of her relationship with Joe, where when she did get with him and everything was private, like that was good for her. That was fine. That was something she was totally okay with and probably even wanted. But now, not so much. So to say this cage was once just fine, you know, it just makes a lot of sense. But
and
also,
am I allowed to cry?
Yeah. What do you think she means by that?
Okay. I think it could mean, am I allowed to cry? Like, am I allowed to cry at my own unhappiness that I like am currently sitting in when there's nothing wrong necessarily in my relationship?
Yeah.
There's nothing necessarily this person has done to me, but I'm just so sad that I'm not.
Yeah. I'm not happy.
Right, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
So there's that. But it also could mean a bunch of other things. So
yeah, like I read it that way as one way, and also like, am I allowed to cry that I can't be with this person I'm fantasizing about because I'm in a relationship? Like, am I allowed to even be upset about this because, like, again, I shouldn't even be thinking this. So am I allowed to cry because I can't have this situation that I'm longing for?
Right. There's a sense of guilt already involved in this song. Guilty as in like feeling this guilt of like, am I allowed to cry? Because like the fault is mine. I have no one to blame except myself.
Yeah.
She did use "Am I allowed to cry" as a clue on the back of the
vinyls.
What was it? Was for the vinyls, yeah. Which is an interesting choice. She has a ton of lyrics she could have picked from, but she chose this one. But yeah. All right, moving on to second half of verse 1. Anyway, here's the second half of verse 1.
I dream of cracking locks, throwing my life to the wolves or the ocean rocks, crashing into him tonight. He's a paradox. I'm seeing visions. Am I bad or mad or wise?
I so badly wanted to go to the chorus. Like,
yeah.
Ugh. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So she mentioned that she was in a cage and now she dreams of cracking locks, meaning getting out of the cage that she has made for herself. Yeah. So throwing my life to the wolves or the ocean rocks, that immediately, like the image of that made me think of Hoax. So it made me think of this line.
Stood on the cliffside screaming, give me a reason.
Which is so sad.
Yeah. It also reminds me of, hold on, let me find it real quick. Yeah, this is me trying.
Yeah.
Pulled the car off the road to the lookout. Could have followed my fears all the way down.
Also 1989.
Jumping off of very tall somethings or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taylor, this is a very vivid image.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Oh, God.
But I mean, metaphorically, what it means is like, I'm willing to just like throw all of this away and give in to my temptation and my impulse to like be with this person.
Yeah. And like blow up the life that I currently have.
Right.
To have something new and exciting.
Yeah. It's like, I also love he's a paradox because I don't know Matty Healy personally, but he does give paradox vibes. Like a paradox is seemingly absurd and self-contradictory.
Okay. Yeah.
That seems right.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Moving on to the chorus, which the way that verse flows into the chorus is like so satisfactory. So I'm sorry I had to cut it off. But anyway, here's the first chorus.
What if he's written mine on my upper thigh, only in my mind? One slipping, falling back into the hedge maze. Oh, what a way to die.
I can't help but like sway to this song. So good.
I know you can't help but like sway and like
yeah, it's one of her best melodies.
Oh, so good.
So what if he's written mine on my upper thigh, only in my mind? They both have songs called Mine. So that's interesting. Taylor also has Mine on Speak Now, and then he has a song called Mine. Yeah.
And like it's also just like the claiming of her that like literally like claiming her upper thigh is like something that he is calling his, which I'm sure is like a major turn on.
Right.
Especially like the upper thigh area, just in general, is a very like
Very
sexually
intimate.
charged, intimate area. So like the
Right.
idea of this guy like writing something like, I don't know, like just touching you there is like electrifying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then messy top lip kiss, how I long for our trysts. The lyric messy top lip kiss is like so descriptive. It's also very intimate because like we've all had sloppy moments where that's happening, but like it's very descriptive. It like literally makes me feel that, like almost on my mouth. Like I don't know what it is. I can feel that.
Yeah.
And then how I long for our trysts. It's also relaying to the fact that like they had a past where they did have a messy top lip kiss, and she's probably remembering that feeling.
Yeah.
Because in 2014, during the 1999, oh my God, they're going to roast me online for saying this again. 1989 era.
Yeah.
While she was like promoting the album, Matty and Taylor, that's when they first started connecting and potentially had some trysts together.
Yeah.
And
but
by the way,
also says,
I found the...
Oh, I was going to
Go
say,
ahead.
She says, I keep recalling things we never did. Messy top lip kiss. So do you think that they never actually like hooked up or did anything back then, and it was just always like on the verge, like this thing that almost was but never happened until
I see that as an
they got together?
insinuation of I keep recalling things we never did. Like maybe we didn't go all the way.
Or maybe she just means like because she's fantasizing about this, saying I keep recalling things we never did, and saying like without ever touching his skin, how can I be guilty of sin? Maybe she just means like we didn't do it right now. It's not something we actually did in this moment, but I'm thinking about it. So maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. P.S. The whole timeline of Matty and Taylor is very confusing because it's not like there was never a public statement made. So many people were like, wait, they knew each other, period. So there's this really detailed slideshow I found from Reddit that I will link to if anyone's very curious about the timeline of these two and their history, including like some really, really old Tumblr back and forths and like so many things I didn't know. And I was a Tumblr girly. I mean, I wasn't like a huge Taylor fan at the time when I was on Tumblr, but like there's so much stuff on here. So anyway, I will link that if you're interested in understanding their trysts a little bit more. But yeah. And then the last lyric of how, without ever touching his skin, how could I be guilty of sin? Is like, I feel like that's her rationalizing like, well, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So like, I'm okay, right? Like,
yeah. Well, also, we didn't touch on one slip and falling back into the hedge maze. Oh, what a way to die. Is that also kind of referring back to this like 2014 era where they were kind of something and it being a hedge maze, like it's just like confusing. Yeah. And then like what I was saying about recalling things we never did, like these are things she's like fantasizing about, like as if they happened, like in the moment. So her saying how I long for our trysts, it's like she's fantasizing about cheating on Joe with him, essentially. So like I long for these trysts of ours that never happened because I'm not doing this. But am I still guilty just for thinking about all this?
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. And then we have verse 2. Here we go.
Okay.
I keep these longings low.
Oh, man.
In lowercase inside a vault. Someone told me there's no such thing as bad thoughts.
boy.
Yep.
Pause.
Yep. I keep these longings locked in lowercase inside of vaults. So, double meaning here, because metaphorically, she's saying that she's hiding her feelings and keeping them as quiet as possible, like locked away only in her head.
Mm-hmm.
But on the literal side, Folklore and Evermore, those albums, everything is all lowercase.
Yep.
And the Reputation album title was also lowercase.
Yep.
Which you wrote undercase in our notes.
I know.
And it cracked me up.
What? What is that?
They were undercase.
What is that?
I don't, it's so funny because like a few words before it, you wrote lowercase.
A stream of consciousness was happening. I was like, oh my God, that's hilarious. Okay, wait. So this whole undercase, lowercase thing, okay. Lowercase inside a vault, right?
Yeah.
The only songs on Tortured Poets that are lowercase are right?
Yeah.
But one thing that had me thinking about with like the album titles is like Evermore and Folklore, all of the songs are undercase.
Did you just do it again by accident? Yeah. Are we calling uppercase overcase now?
Yes. Okay. All of the songs on Folklore and Evermore are lowercase. All of them. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. But what's crazy is that Tortured Poets Department, when you look at it, even on Spotify, it is all uppercase. Yeah. So she's like, I'm done hiding my secrets in a vault. I'm going to tell you everything. So I love that image.
Yeah. And like, I had been wondering why it was styled as all uppercase. But that makes sense.
Yeah. She's like, oh, no more secrets locked inside a vault anymore. Like, I'm yelling it now. You're going to know everything. But like, so now all of us Swifties are going back to these albums and we're like, oh my God, is that song about Matty?
Yeah. And I want to know, does the Reputation vault have Matty songs? Because that would have been the first album, aside from Karma, the Lost album, where she would be able to like write about their time together in the 1989 era. Because some people are trying to say that like some songs on 1989 were about him. And I'm like, no, because she and him connected when she was already on tour for that album.
Right. That album was sealed up and done by the point that they had really connected. Yeah. So no 1989, but Reputation. Yes, that's definitely a thing.
The Karma album could have a lot about him.
I love how the two of us, like, we are so convinced that karma is real. Like, that we're just like, the Karma album, of course. Like, I'm sure people are like, what the heck are they? There's no Karma album. Did I miss an album? No, you did not miss an album. We believe that Taylor had an album called Karma that was stowed away. So, sorry if that's confusing, but like, we are so convinced that Karma is a real album that we're like, oh, the real Karma album. Yeah.
It's definitely real.
Yeah. Oh my God.
In my mind, there's no world where it's not real.
100%. Yeah. 100%. God. Okay. Now I have to talk about this. This is a conundrum for you and I to discuss. Mm-hmm. Someone told me there's no such thing as bad thoughts. Only your actions talk. Mm-hmm. Who do we think said that to Taylor? Was this like a Blake Lively piece of advice? Was this just something? Yeah, is this just something she pulled from like self-help books or the internet? Right. And do we agree with this advice? There's no such thing as bad thoughts. Only your actions talk.
Okay. Here's what I think. There is such a thing as a bad thought. So that I disagree with. But I don't think... Oh, well, I don't know. Is she guilty for thinking of all this stuff? It's such a tough line. It's like...
I mean, on one hand, if you have a bad thought, but you never act on it, then
I wouldn't call you guilty.
Right. Now, if you have a bad thought and it leads to actions that lead to bad behavior, then yes, that is a bad thought.
Because, like, you can have an emotional affair.
100%.
You know, but then you could kind of argue that those are, like, actions because it might involve you, like, confiding in that person or whatever.
Communicating, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, yes, there is such a thing as bad thoughts. But I do also think that, like, it's your actions that actually matter in what you do.
Yeah. I think that bad thoughts often lead to bad actions because that's just how we operate. But, like, ultimately, if you have a passing bad thought that you're like, dude, I hate this person, and then, like, you just ignore them, then, like, it doesn't matter. Right. But if you continually have bad thoughts that lead to, like, bad actions, then yeah, that's bad. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Like, I don't necessarily agree with that. But it's also her rationalizing with herself. Like, like, I'm okay. I'm not doing anything bad. Like, I haven't done anything.
Yeah, like, someone said this, so I'm okay. It's cool.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I'm in the clear.
Yeah, which is like, girl. Anyway.
Yeah, but also, can we talk about being Joe Alwyn listening to this song?
Well, number one, I hope that Joe never listens to this album. Just for his sake.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Would you? I mean, like, if you were dating one of the most prolific songwriters ever, they release an album after you've broken up, and, like, maybe there aren't any bad feelings, would you listen to it?
Probably, yeah. But also think about it,
that's
like,
self-harm, baby. That is self-harm.
But also, like, think about what it's like to be in the world right now. He has heard these songs against his will, for sure.
I mean, if he's gone on social media, he's heard it all. Like,
yeah.
Well. Oh boy. All right. Well, here's the second half of verse 2.
Okay.
These fatal fantasies, giving way to labored breath, taking all of me. We've already done it in my head. If it's make-believe, why does it feel like a vow we'll both uphold somehow?
I hate that goes off. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this verse had me clutching my pearls. Okay, like.
Yeah, I mean, just wait until
I know
the next part we get into, but
yeah, it's coming.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. My favorite part of that whole verse is we've already done it in my head. Okay, she doubles that melody in an octave.
Okay,
and it's like, it's such a great detail because it's almost like she's, like, screaming it to herself, like, adding to this guilty complex that she has. We've already done it in my head. Like, it's already in there.
I love the way the drums and stuff, like, line up there. Like, the underlying beat and stuff switches up there and really draws attention to that part in a way that's really satisfying to me.
Oh, it's such a good detail.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, fatal fantasies giving way to labored breath.
Taking all of me. Take me now. We've already done it in my head.
If it's make-believe, why does it feel like a vow we'll both uphold somehow? Like, it's going to happen. She's already of the mindset, like, this is going to happen. Like,
yeah.
She's already, it's
like,
it's progressed.
She's saying, like, this is inevitable.
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
It's bound to happen. We've moved on from verse 1 being like, only your actions talk, to, like, why does it feel like a vow that we're both going to do? Like, we've both promised that this is going to happen.
Right. Dude, the sexual tension in that studio.
I'm telling you. Together.
Imagine being Jack there. Jack was probably like, what the hell am I witnessing?
Because he's also friends with the 1975. He literally recorded their album.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well.
Right.
Okay. Well, chorus 2.
Should we move on to
Here
chorus
we go.
2?
We've built up to this.
What if he's written mine on my upper thigh, only in my mind? One slip and falling back into the hedge maze. Oh, what a way to die. My bedsheets are ablaze. I screamed his name, building up like waves, crashing over my grave. Without ever touching his skin, how can I be guilty as sin?
Taylor.
Taylor.
Have you ever seen that clip of Andrea, her mom, being like, I don't know, if I brought my daughter and I saw that choreography, I think that would be inappropriate. Flash forward to like 15 years later, and what is your daughter writing?
And the vigilante shit choreography
Dude.
stuff? Oh,
Dude.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so when you and I first listened to this, we got to this part, we're like, she is very, very clearly talking about masturbation.
This is very clearly a vivid dream that she is having.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, screaming his name.
Building up like waves crashing over my grave.
Which grave? Meaning like, I am so sexually attracted to this person. I'm so down bad for like this
Yeah.
to happen that I know it's going to kill me.
Yeah.
Like I know
it's killing me.
Like I'm in my grave.
Uh-huh. Yeah. But yeah, like this is probably her most explicit like depiction of sexual fantasy. Like we've never had an obvious reference to self-pleasure before.
No,
not like this.
I just had this crazy thought, and I know this is not the imagery that she was thinking, because like, you know how the Lover House burns down on the Eras tour?
Yeah.
And like the album cover of Midnight's is her with the lighter.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, oh, she burnt down the Lover House. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, what happens if like her bed sheets were ablaze and that's what tore the Lover House down? That's not what she meant.
But on the Eras tour during Wildest Dreams, isn't the imagery the bed on fire?
Yeah. Oh my God.
But is that like that imagery? I think would have been decided possibly before this song was written, unless she was writing this song during Midnight's. And it was in the Midnight's vault until it came out on this, which is a possibility.
The timing,
right?
Yeah.
Or maybe it was like a very, very rough draft during the Midnight's era.
Right.
And then she fleshed it. Like this was probably a Taylor Swift journal entry of some sort.
Yeah, because in Wildest Dreams, she's literally sleeping on the bed and the bed catches on fire.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and then Midnight's... Wait, no. It's Tortured Poets where we see her on the bed. That's the imagery.
Yeah. But the bed in the insane asylum...
Oh my God. Yeah. It's just like... The thing that gets me is the building up like waves. like if you're a person with a female body,
we have to put like a huge warning on this. This is sexual.
Oh my God. Wait, is this song even technically explicit?
No, I don't think so. There's no
I don't
bad
think she
words.
swears in it.
No.
Well,
but it is the most explicit. So
It's pretty explicit.
oh my God.
Oh man.
Okay.
Good for you, Taylor.
She laid it out there. She did not hold back. She's
No.
yelling in all caps now. Okay.
She's screaming his name.
All right. We've reached the bridge. Here we go.
All right, let's cross it.
What if I roll the stone away? They're gonna crucify me anyway. What if the way you hold me is actually what's holy? If long-suffering propriety is what they want from me, they don't know how you've haunted me so stunningly. I choose you and me religiously.
Man, these cuts are really intense.
It just, yeah. It shows like how this song just is so well produced. Like,
yeah,
it's so
well crafted. Like, yeah, like the way it builds and like just brings you along.
Yeah.
Before we get into all of the the lyrics of this bridge, I need to point out this random thing.
Okay.
So when I first heard this song, I was like, the part where she says, they don't know how you've haunted me. The way she sings that, I was like, I have heard this before in one of her other songs, and I had to go find it. So listen to this part specifically again. Okay.
Mm-hmm. They don't know how you've haunted me so stunningly.
And now listen to this section from the song Don't You, which is a vault track from Fearless, Taylor's version. And so let me go back to the other one.
They don't know how you've haunted me so stunningly.
Yeah, whatever that chord structure is like.
Yeah, it's like the way it like goes up, and in this song she's saying they don't know, and in that song she's saying you don't know. So it's like the same words, very similar melody structure with them. And this is really weird, but both of those sections, they both happen at like exactly 3:02 in each of the songs. And like, honestly, I think this is just a weird, random Taylor Swift coincidence. Like, I don't think there's any connection between these two songs that she was trying to do. I think this was just an example of her like recreating a melody she had done before, because it's just like in her brain.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just something that like it really stuck out to me, and then I kind of think about it every time.
Yeah, that's
weird.
crazy. Weird coincidence.
Yeah. I did check. The songs are not in the same key, but they almost are, because this song is in D major and Don't You is in E flat major. So they're a half step
they're literally
apart.
A half step apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also like it's something about whatever that chord is that's underneath both of them at that moment that they have similar like structure things going on.
Yeah.
So the big thing about this bridge is like the religious imagery. She literally just went in on the religious imagery. She said, what if I roll the stone away? Which of course, like in the Bible, Jesus rolls the stone away from the tomb of Lazarus, right? They're going to crucify me anyway. Another religious image. What if the way you hold me is actually what's holy, religious? If long-suffering propriety is what they want from me, they don't know how you've haunted me so stunningly. I choose you and me religiously. Obviously, religion, right?
Right.
Which is interesting because like there's other touches of religious imagery in this album, specifically how she's styled But Daddy I Love Him on the Eras tour. It's literally like church stained glass. She's kneeling and praying, and even like her movements and choreography is similar to prayer.
Yeah.
And also we were talking about how would've, could've, should've has very like underlying Christian guilt associated with it.
Yeah.
Specifically like this line. Give me 1 second.
God rest my soul. I miss who I used to be. The tomb won't close. Stained glass windows in the night.
So like,
Yeah. It's crazy that she mentions the tomb again.
yeah.
Like, because in Would've, Could've, Should've, she says the tomb won't close.
Yeah.
Meaning like, I can't put this to bed. Like, this keeps haunting me, right? And in this song, she's saying it like, what if I roll this stone away? Like, what if I completely bust this open?
Right.
And act on these things and everything. So in
They're
Would've,
gonna-
Could've, Should've, she's like, please close it.
And But Daddy, I Love Him, the song is literally about how people are crucifying her for being with this man that she shouldn't be with, or isn't, you know, is not deemed appropriate by her fans, basically.
Right.
And also I love this idea of they don't know how you've haunted me so stunningly, because so many people had no idea that she was so hung up on this situationship. Like, she's been haunted by this for years and we were all totally clueless.
And saying I choose you and me religiously is such a strong statement.
Yeah.
You know, saying like, I believe in this.
Yeah.
This is real. I have faith in this. And I'm willing to like blow up my life for this, which is also kind of what But Daddy, I Love Him is about.
Right. Similar themes. Also, like, I know this album is not about religious trauma, but I saw a video, and I wish I saved it, but I saw a video how a girl was explaining how, you know, the Tortured Poets Department for Taylor was about basically like releasing all these feelings about a situationship and, you know, temporary madness, all that stuff. But for her, there's so many songs that have this tinge of escaping religious trauma. And I kind of love that, because like I would have never made that association, but like there's so many things that, you know, deciding to walk away from a situation where you know you will be judged. A lot of people have to choose to leave religion. And, you know, the guilt associated with being a sinner and the guilt with, you know, leaving your life behind and facing criticism. Like, I get it. So if I can find this video, I'll link it. But she talks about a couple songs where in her brain it connects to like escaping religious trauma. But yeah, like this is, I mean, she does have a lot of associations with religion in this album and with the Midnight's Vault tracks too.
Definitely.
So,
yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah, me too. All right. We've reached the final chorus. All right, here we go.
What if he's written mine on my upper thigh, only in my mind? I'm slipping, falling back into the headspace. Oh, what a way to die. I keep recalling things we never did. Messy talk, lip kiss, how I long for our trysts. Without ever touching his skin, how can I be guilty as sin? He sent me downtown lights. I hadn't heard it in a while. Am I allowed to cry?
I personally love the callback there at the ending.
Yeah.
The fact that she brings it back to, he sent me downtown lights. I hadn't heard it in a while. Am I allowed to cry?
Yeah.
It's just, it perfectly wraps up. Like we were saying, this song is so well constructed.
Yeah.
Also that final chorus, like it just like hits in a very specific way.
Do you know what I like about that closer is that it like, he set me down 10 lights ahead. Am I allowed to cry? It literally takes us back to the moment where like she's confessing, like, he just set me down 10 lights. Like, I'm in the middle of this. And we go through this whole thing with her. Where it's like this whole thing. Oh my God!
She just spiraled.
What? And then we're back. Like, whoop, we're back in real time. It's genius, honestly.
Yeah. And also, like, coming off of all the religious stuff in the bridge, the way this chorus starts with that kind of like a cappella harmony, it kind of sounds like a choir. You know, that's also kind of like churchy.
Also, love upper thigh.
Oh, yeah. The little note change.
It's so good.
Oh, God.
Also, the slide guitar. The slide guitar in the song is so good. Like,
yeah.
It's perfect. So, like, any other final thoughts about the final chorus or outro before we get into, like, little music theory moment?
No, let's get into it.
Okay. So, like, for me, this is really her first soft rock hit. You had written a couple other ones that I'm like, okay, I could kind of see this.
Yeah, I was trying to think, because, you know, Taylor's songs span quite the range of styles. So I just like looked back through her discography and I was like, does anything else feel like soft rock to me? And I guess it depends on what the definition of soft rock really is. But I was kind of thinking like, you know, like you said, like CVS songs, like stuff that we grew up hearing on the radio that like would play on my mom's radio station or stuff. So I pulled out like "'Tis the Damn Season," surprisingly.
I agree with that one. Yeah.
And "Long Story Short," even "Anti-Hero," and then "Would've, Could've, Should've," "All Too Well" for sure, actually.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I don't know if you can hear that. And then "Come Back, Be Here," and also "Dear John."
Dear John. I mean, Dear John is literally a rip of a John Mayer song. So like, yeah, definitely. I don't know if I agree with Antihero. That's very poppy to me. Would've, Could've, Should've is like a little bit too hard. And Long Story Short is a little bit too electronic. So like, like at least in my criteria, "'Tis the Damn Season" is definitely that. Similar tone and production.
Yeah, I think that
All Too Well for sure.
"'Tis the Damn Season," "All Too Well," and "Dear John," I think are probably.
Yeah. I mean,
but I also never would have like put this song in the same category as those without thinking about it this way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I love the use of the slide guitar in this song because she talks about like waves. It feels like when that slide guitar like comes in, it feels like you're riding this like crest of a wave, which is exactly what she's describing. It builds perfectly. Like you mentioned, the song's in D major. And one thing that's like worth noting is there's so many of these major 7 chords. And you know, it's a major song. And normally when you write a pop song or even a rock song, you just use those major chords. But when you add a 7th to it, it adds this like tension.
So and what also does that mean?
Like, there's just this like, if I were to play, I wish I had a keyboard. If I were to play a major song, a major chord, it sounds happy. It sounds bright. And, you know, you use these different chord progressions and they just sound like happy and, you know, they make sense. When you add a 7th, which is like just this, it's normally used in jazz. It adds this tension to a chord where the base of it is still recognizable, but with that 7th, it adds this depth. It just adds this like richness and also a little bit of edge and, like I said, like a tension. Like it feels like there's a note in there that like doesn't quite belong, but like feels right.
So tell me if I'm wrong here, because I've got my piano background. I know some of this. So like a classic major chord would be like notes 1, 3, and 5, right?
Right.
Okay. So then the 7 is still like, you know, it's going up 2 more, 1, 3, 5, 7. That kind of makes sense.
Yep.
But the 7 is also 1 step away from the root note.
Octave.
Yeah.
Right.
So it would add that
It's
tension.
like,
yeah. Because the 1 and the 7
you're
are
like,
actually
you're so
next to each other.
close.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
you're
yeah.
so close to like resolving. And
Yeah.
it feels like it doesn't belong, but something about a 7th chord adds this like complexity to a lot of like jazz tunes. A lot of jazz tunes use a ton of 7th chords, but like this obviously isn't a jazz song, but when you incorporate a 7th chord, and there's a lot of major 7 chords in this song, there's this underlying tension throughout the entire song because there's just something that doesn't fit in the major chord that you're like, what is that? And I mean, it makes sense for this song. We're talking about sexual tension in recording studio. So like tension in the chords is like, yes, that makes sense. I love that. Also,
cool.
The ending and the beginning instrumentations could not be different. The beginning of the song begins with that like that 80s synth song that sounds like the Blue Nile. But the ending of this song is strings. There's a little bit of like a synthy chorus layering going on, but it's strings, mostly a cello line and like these pizzicato strings that like acoustic-y electronic. It's like very different. Yeah. And I love the pizzicato line because like to me when I hear that do 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 do, I think of like a ticking clock, like a countdown almost.
Yeah.
Where like it's almost like counting down to when inevitably this will happen. Or like someone is thinking like on a game show, like do, 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 where you're stuck in your brain, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I had never really like pulled out those details until I read your note about it. So I went and listened to it, and you're right. Like, I had never noticed that little pizzicato part, but it does sound like a ticking clock.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah. And I think structurally this song is a masterpiece, like we talked about before. Like the way things flow, the way it's organized, the way that the form is made, like it's just like beautifully done. And there's all these little details in the way that she phrases things or adds extra percussion or changes the beat here or there that I think is really, really well done. In fact, I'm changing my score. So.
I knew you were going to.
The more I talk about it.
Yeah.
So there you go. I feel like when we score these, I'm always like way lower than what I feel at the end of the episode.
Well, you had even bumped it up from when I was like writing my notes. So
I know. I was like, okay, that's going to change.
All right. So what's your score, Lara?
My score officially is an 8.9 out of 10.
Wow.
Not quite a 9, but it's close. Like, this might be one of my favorite songs on the Tortured Poets Department, besides my original favorites. We talked about this in a recent episode, but like, this was a new addition to my favorites list.
Yeah.
And like, I get it.
Yeah.
Like, I have good taste.
Also, I just really think this is going to be one of those songs that will always be a fan favorite.
Yes.
It's not kind of like flashy. Like, I feel like Who's Afraid of Little Old Me is kind of like flashy, but not like classic. Whereas this is a classic Taylor song that like you could play this song 30 years from now and it's going to be a great song.
The Swifties will be playing this in our kitchens for many, many years. Like this is just on repeat. This is a classic. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And what's your favorite lyric?
I said, we've already done it in my head. If it's make-believe, why does it feel like a vow? We'll both uphold somehow. I think that is like kind of the thesis of this song. We've already done it in my head. If it's make-believe, why does it feel like that? And we all know that they got together. But I also think that the instrumentation in this is really fun. Like, why does it feel like about? And then like the snares come in, the drum line will both uphold somehow into the chorus. It's like so beautifully done. I did not cut it out as a sound bite, but we've heard it. So anyway, that's mine.
Well, here,
what's your rating?
Okay, so my rating, I give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay.
And like I would almost give it a 9, but yeah, definitely 8.5. It's one of her best. It's going to be a classic. It'll stand the test of time.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then what's your favorite lyric?
This is my favorite lyric. Yeah, I love that part because to me it's probably the most like visceral and like descriptive part of the song. And it's the part of that song that makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. Like,
yeah,
like I shouldn't be hearing this. Like, Taylor, you should not be telling us this.
TMI, Taylor.
You know, but then like because of that, it's also like, ooh, this song is naughty. Like this is like a really personal, like forbidden kind of topic. So yeah, I just feel like for me, those lyrics bring I don't know, just like the weight of this song and what she's trying to say and how personal it is. So
yeah,
that's
for
my
sure.
pick.
Well, this song is a recipe. We have very different choices.
Yeah, we do.
I feel like if this song were a food or drink, it would have to be like a deep, rich red wine. Like, and I'm imagining like the entire bottle. Like you are drinking the entire bottle. You are in your wine feels. You're slightly like at the point where you're either going to throw up or you're going to cry. And that's where we're at. It has like, it's not white wine because white wine is like light and summery and fun. And it's got to be like a red wine because like it just has like a depth to it and a secrecy to it. And I feel like red wine is a very like sexy, secretive sort of drink, you know?
Yeah. That reminds me, in New Girl, doesn't she say, pink wine makes me slutty? So it's not pink wine. That would be like a rosé. But yeah, it kind of reminds me of that. It's kind of like the red wine's kind of like a more mature, sultry version of that.
Yeah, it there's a little sexiness to it. For sure. All right, well, what's your recipe choice?
I said spicy fajitas that come out in a hot pan.
Chilies.
Yeah, because you know at a restaurant when you get fajitas and they come out with that like cast iron skillet that all the veggies are in.
And everyone's like, ooh.
Yeah, and it's like sizzling. So it's like spicy a little bit because this song is spicy, but also like the hot pan, it's like, you know, they're like, don't touch it. But then that makes you want to just touch it, right?
Right.
We're going to be like, is it really that hot? You know, let me just touch it and see how it feels.
And it is a spectacle when it comes out. Everyone's going to talk about it. So I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, so I thought that was a good like metaphor for this song.
Yeah, I love that. Two very different takes. In fact, why don't we have them together? Spicy fajitas out of a hot pan, a deep, rich red wine, but you have to drink the whole bottle.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that sounds like a good combo.
That sounds like a combo that will make me throw up. But yeah.
Me too.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Well, this was a lot. And I feel like I say that every single time we have a song episode, but like this one was jam-packed. And we had a lot of news to go over too. So who knows what we're going to have to chat about next episode. But I think our plan is to do Smallest Man. I
think so.
Unless something crazy happens.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, but I think our next song will be The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived.
Yeah. I mean, knock on wood, the London shows should be happening around the time that we'll be recording next. So
yeah, let's hope that they happen. And let's hope and pray for our Rep TV announcement. One of these times we have to be right.
One of these times. The clues will align and we're like, this is it for real.
Yeah.
It's probably the most anticipated album that she has, to
Yeah.
release. Wouldn't you say?
Probably. Yeah.
I think 1989 was a lot of hype, but I think a
Yeah.
lot of people are excited for Rep.
Yeah. Especially because like 1989, like all the other re-recordings have brought on so many new people and they've just been so fun. Like honestly, I get so excited for the announcement because I just want to see what the cover is going to look like.
I love all of it. I want to know what the cover looks like. I want to know
Yeah.
the new branding. I
Yeah.
want to know. I want to figure out the song titles of the vault tracks. I want all of it.
Who are the collabs hopefully going to be?
I want the merch.
Yeah,
Like
the merch. Oh God! But one thing I'm not looking forward to is she going to release a bunch of variants of the vinyls, and then should I pick one to buy, or do I wait? Because the 1989 variants, I don't think they came back. I think you had like one chance to buy those.
I don't think they did either. I know if you go to Target right now, they've stayed the same.
Well, the Target one's always the same.
True.
Yeah, so I'm talking about the ones with like the special covers and whatever. Although I was at a local record store here recently and they had one of the random variants. So they must have bought a couple. And I was like, should I buy this? But I didn't.
Listen, you have to get Folklore and Evermore first. Like
I know. I have a whole list. Oh my gosh. Like
I'm surprised you don't have those yet.
I only
you know those are the only two. Wait, do I have Evermore? I have 2 copies of Folklore.
Right. Yeah.
Here we go again.
The balloons. The only Taylor vinyls I have all 4 of the Tortured Poets because I'm a crazy person. And then I have Midnights. Yeah. I have 1989 Taylor's version, Target edition. And I have OG Reputation.
That is a find.
Yeah. Well, it was like reissued, so they're actually not that hard to find. But yeah, I bought that because that is my favorite album of the stolen albums. And it's iconic, and I was like, I want to be able to listen to this album on my record player, so I'm going to buy it.
Do it.
So I hope Taylor forgives me.
It's okay. Yeah. It's okay. I mean, I do think, when she announced that she was re-recording everything, in my head, I thought it would be like a year. Like, I thought it was going to be really short.
Like, release everything?
Yeah. Because I think the whole, at least from what I understood, the point was that she wanted to own these. She didn't want this person to make money off of it, whatever. But I think what her and her team learned is that the rollout is the most fun part. So, take your time.
Yeah.
And I'm all for it at this point. So, my thing is, if she's taking her time, it's okay. Like, it's fine. She's going to be okay. Like, I also think that she's incredibly rich. So, like, you buying a vinyl that goes slightly to Scooter Braun is not going to super hurt her. It's the idea of it that hurts. But yeah. Anyway.
Right.
Oh, all right, guys. Well, we've made it to the end.
We have, finally. So, thank you for joining us. And if you'd like to support the pod, please give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. And follow us at Blank Plate Pod on TikTok and Instagram.
And you can check out our website at blankplatepodcast.com and send us an email at at gmail.com and leave us a voicemail at 717-382-8313.
So until next time, we had the time of our lives with you.
And it's time to go.
So bye.
Bye.